Hello again, everyone. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Real Talk Show. I am your host, Dr. India White. I am so excited that you've joined me tonight on the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White. I hope you guys have had an incredible day. I know the weather has been absolutely unpredictable here in Florida. I don't know about you guys, where you are. Greetings, welcome, come on in. I know for me, example, for my weather experience, the other day, I think it was like Saturday, I'm in Florida, right? And I'm thinking to myself, this is the perfect day for the beach, right? I just thought that to myself. Did I go to the beach? No, I didn't go to the beach. I had some things I needed to do. I had to prepare for, different things. Like, for example, a presentation we've got going on this weekend. With the National Alliance of Black School Educators that we're super excited about. But not only that, I had some other things I had to do. And so, long story short, I thought that, this would be super hot and predictable. I would be able to go to the beach later. And then all of a sudden, we are now experiencing 40-degree weather, 50-degree weather, which in our language, that's too cold. They issued out a freeze warning for us. Come on, guys. I'm looking around. I'm seeing people's plants are jacked up because of the cold weather. So I am now starting to embrace the fact that summer is over. Okay. My pumpkin spice lattes are over. And so now I'm starting to look at Christmas music. I know you guys are looking at that. Everybody's in the Christmas mood. Some of us are doing Christmas trees. They've got holiday lights, and you've got your hot chocolates coming up and stuff, and you're all in the Christmas cheer. So anyway, with that said, we are now in a very delightful season, and I hope that you guys are taking advantage of connecting with loved ones, friends, and families alike. And not only do we have these different moments where we can connect, we also have those rock stars out there on the front lines, our nurses, those that are serving the community with all their heart and their love. And so with that said, I do want to take time to introduce one of these amazing rock stars who is a personal just jewel of mine that I love, and she's been a joy in my own life, and so I wanted to honor her today, and that is Miss Veronique Worrell. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
How are you doing? How is everything? Welcome.
I am awesome. What a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, so thank you. It's a delight. And so my audience, they don't know who you are, so I would love for you to talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Veronique.
Okay, so I'm 40. I'm going to be 45 in January. I'm never ashamed to state my age because I think that it's an important accomplishment for most people. But I was born and raised in Jamaica. I lived in Vero Beach for most of my young adult life, and I was married, had two beautiful children. I decided to become a nurse about 25 years ago. Um, and, I kind of, the journey has been up and down, but it's definitely been my heart and soul. Um, love what I do. Fell in love with the career. My children are now trying to expand and grow and go out. My little home is kind of not nesting anymore, but kids are kind of trying to, move out a little bit. But
yeah,
my nest is growing, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feeling pretty good about my little space and where I am. And I'm just looking forward to bigger and better things.
So how did you start your journey? So you came over here from Jamaica, you saw all of these different opportunities over here, and what sparked the interest of, I want to be a nurse one day? What did it for you?
Okay, so we moved here from Jamaica, for a better life. That's usually the goal for folks that are trying to migrate to this country. So my mom, had the idea that we would progress when we got here, and she was right. And so, funny enough, I never wanted to be a nurse. I fought it tooth and nail. I did not, me and my sister were opposites, and she wanted to be a nurse, and I did not want have anything to do with it. I wanted to be an interior decorator. So
Okay.
lo and behold, I went into the building that was offering the course that I desired, and I took the test, and I tried to get out of nursing. And just over various struggles, my mom advised me not to because of progressive reasons,
Mhm.
financial security, and she was right.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, years later, I absolutely fell in love with nursing. Just the idea of helping people and seeing the results, I completely fell in love with it. So it wasn't my first choice, but God knew what He was doing because I
Mhm.
really, really enjoy it now at this point. Um,
Okay.
I also decided to pursue, my higher degrees because I wanted to, take the best advantage I could of the field.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit about your degrees. What did you get your degrees in, Veronique?
Okay, so I started out as an LPN, which is just a certificate as a nurse. And
Okay.
I saw where I wasn't really able to play the roles that I desired. So I decided to
Hmm.
go on to being a registered nurse. And then from
Okay.
there, I was told that, listen, it's not going to be that much different. So why not just go for a degree? And so I decided
Right.
to climb the ladder that way. And it wasn't really that bad. It didn't take that much out of me. So I'm really glad I did that. Really glad I did that.
Very nice. And so you got a bachelor's of nursing in nursing education from Grand
Hmm.
Canyon University. Where is that located?
That's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, gotcha. I was thinking.
Phoenix,
Okay, and so how long were you in that area for?
well, you know what? My sister lived there for years with her husband. And so I thought that was a perfect location for me. But at the
Mhm.
time, my daughter was still young. She was still younger than 8. So I decided to do virtual. So
Okay.
that was all done online. And as most nurses know, the bulk of your experience and all of your um, the meat of the nursing degree is in becoming a registered nurse. So the online course was very convenient, with the family and all. So it
Right.
helped me to pursue that goal without actually moving my entire family, to another area.
Mhm.
So that was
That's
pretty sweet.
great. That is great. And so then
Pretty sweet.
after you obtained your bachelor's in nursing, you just began working as a nurse, or what happened afterwards? And just talk to us about how your journey began to unravel and how that led you to your next degree.
Okay, so I was working in the hospital at the time, and it was the popular thing to go ahead and get your bachelor's degree because you would get a pay increase at that time. And I really wanted to stand out in my field. At that time, I was about 16 years in, and I really wanted to seal the deal to make it, more professional, gain that extra edge,
Right.
being that I had the experience. And so, I don't know if you want to call it overzealous, but I decided that, since got over that hump, I would go ahead and go for the master's. So I didn't want anything as rigorous as becoming a nurse practitioner. I wanted to have more of a laid back feel, not saying that any of these practices are any less than the other, but the educational aspect of it, I really, really felt that was my line. And, I learned a lot. It was very interesting, actually, very interesting course. So um, I feel like it was the best thing to do. Um, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and I'm planning on doing more things now with the nursing because as you progress in nursing after a while, you become so good at it that you're actually benefiting others more than you benefit yourself. So
Wow, that's
I'm looking forward to
excellent.
doing more things. Yes.
So, what advice do you have for maybe young aspiring nurses out there? Young females or males that are thinking about going into the nursing field. What advice would you have for them?
Listen, I would say follow your heart. I'll tell you that, nursing is a lot of work if you do it right. And it's something that you have to put your heart into it. You're not really going to get far if it's not something if you're not convicted about it. And my advice
Right.
to young ladies would be, take time to build your skill, and
Hmm.
it's extremely rewarding, but you have to go in knowing that you're giving a part of yourself away, and that's where the conviction comes in. You have to go in knowing that you're going to be exchanging that. It's an exchange, and it's a real
Right.
exchange. You have those real experiences. So just be prepared for that, and embrace it.
Now, you talked about giving yourself away, and that makes me think about all the different roles that nurses play. I'm so grateful for the nurses I had when I was giving birth to my children, but I can imagine just all the different roles you have to play. Does that ever weigh on you? Like one day you have to be somebody's mom, the next day you have to, comfort someone. Maybe they lost a loved one, or maybe they're dealing with COVID. I don't know. So talk about how you've had to kind of maneuver through the various roles as a nurse, and how it's not just all
Mhm.
about, checking blood pressure, but there's so much more to it.
Absolutely. And this is where you give a part of yourself away. You have to kind of step outside of the profession and resonate with the person inside of you, that's the giving part of you. And so this
Right.
is where that you separate the real nurses from the other ones, if I may say that. You
Right.
kind of it grows on you. Speaking about hats that you have to change. You're talking about things like even in this COVID-19 season, you may have to speak to someone's daughter. You have to walk them through it. I've many daughters of my patients have cried on my shoulders. I've
Mm.
done FaceTime. We've gone out of our way to stay over past our shifts just to let them talk to their loved one for the very last time.
Right.
And then you have to turn around and go back and start that IV and give that
Wow.
medication and keep it moving. So,
Wow, that's so powerful. Like, it just reminds me of the different times I've had to grieve and say goodbye. And, the nurses sometimes, they get all types of emotions from the loved ones as well. I know, when it was time to tell my mom goodbye, it was very tough for us. And when you
yes.
said it, this made me think of, you being a nurse, like how those nurses must have felt. It must have been very tough, and you don't quite know how to relay the information and or give that last bit of morphine. Those tough places that people are dealing with across the world. And
Mhm.
so, what advice would you have for nurses that they love what they do, but they don't want to always carry it home? Or how is there a disconnect between, leaving it at home? Okay, that person just lost a loved one from cancer. I had to tell them tonight. They cried on my shoulder, and now I'm in my car going home to my family. How do you detach in a healthy manner so that you can go back in and do it again the next day?
And that's a wonderful question. And thank you for that question, because a lot of nurses struggle with that. And I can say in my own personal journey, it's very difficult when you're a brand new nurse. First of all, you have to kind of find that path. And the only way you can find that path is by getting in there and dealing with these different types of people and these different types of situations.
Right.
But my advice would be, you have to turn that faucet off. You can't it's very difficult to continually drain yourself, because at some point you're going to run out of emotions. You're going to run out of
Right.
anything that drives you, and then eventually you may have to leave the career, whether it's through just being burned out, or maybe somebody else sees it and they advise you to leave. So when your shift ends, you have to end it. And it's very difficult. I've done it before where I stayed after, but you kind of have to draw that line and delegate and say, okay, the next shift take over, because you have to go back and you have to replenish. And if you don't do that, your body will make you do it. And so
Wow.
it's difficult to set that standard when you have a bleed as a nurse. And
Yeah.
I've been there. So I speak from experience. I've done
Wow.
it. I've done it the wrong way before. So
That's so powerful. I commend you so much for what you've
yeah.
done, and I say thank you, as someone in the community for what you've done. All the thousands of people you've served. I can imagine the many hearts that you've made happy, and the many hearts you've had to comfort, and so thank you. I don't take that lightly. We don't take that lightly. We need more people with wonderful hearts like yours. Um,
Okay.
me, I honestly, Veronique, I hated blood. I hate looking at blood. I just can't do it. I could not imagine. Like I wanted to pursue. Like I thought it was always cool looking at someone with a white coat. But I just could not imagine handling blood and or surgery. And have you ever thought of that, or have you had to? Have you ever thought of maybe assisting a surgeon, or I don't know if you've been able to do that, or I don't know, maybe a mother giving birth. Like I don't know how much you've gone into your different roles
Hmm.
of nursing, but talk to us a little bit about that as well, like the different adventures you've had, maybe some cool moments that you remembered as a nurse, and maybe even talk about those that might have a fear of the world of phlebotomy and all that as well.
Well, you know what? Actually, in nursing, you have nurses with phobias. And it's
Yeah.
funny because we kind of dissect ourselves. We put ourselves in these little categories, and we'll say, well, there are certain things, certain smells that would turn one nurse off, and another nurse would be okay with it. And I don't want to get too graphic, but
Right. Right.
but it's funny how I'll say, well, that doesn't bother me, and then another nurse will say, oh my goodness, that makes me gag. So that being said, I kind of stayed towards the rehab side where you help people rehabilitate physically. I've never personally done anything in the surgical side before. However, I've done a lot of bloody wounds, things like that. It's still bloody, still gory, but not assisting the surgeon, so to speak. But you
Okay.
still get those cuts and those bad skin
Yeah.
tears where there's blood and so on. And um, you know, like I say, it's just every nurse is different. Some nurses cannot tolerate um, vomit. I don't want to get graphic, but
Yeah.
vomit.
Yeah.
And then other nurses can't
Right.
tolerate, seeing a wound open. So we have
Oh,
our
I
own
don't
little,
think I could either.
I
Yeah.
know, I'm sorry. But
I
these are
don't
the
think I
things
could
that we
either.
see every day. So
Yeah.
we're not all like tough and gangster or anything. We all have our little quirks where we say, "Well, Bernie, can you do this for me?" And I'll go over here and do that for you. And we barter and we exchange and we kind of buddy up with each other and we say, "Okay, well," and it's good when you find that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind
That's
of we kind of
excellent.
stick in there. We do a teamwork kind of thing a lot of times.
So So, what did you feel like when COVID happened and you're in the profession and everyone's
Right.
running to the hospital? What was that like for you?
Well, I won't lie, it was scary, because this is the first time that I've been in any type of lockdown situation. So it was
Right.
very scary. At first, I felt like I was being thrown into the wolves, just like everybody else in society. But I
Right.
think about it like when the AIDS epidemic hit, and I kind of, worked my way into it that way to say, well, everybody was afraid of the AIDS epidemic. How
Yeah.
can I look at this from that perspective? And then I also began to look at things that I could do to combat um, getting the virus. So I started zoning in on things like, taking certain vitamins. And honestly, knock on wood, I have not had a positive test so far.
That's awesome.
I have not had a positive test.
You know, I'm just amazed by all of this information. If you guys are joining, welcome to the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White, and I've got a phenomenal guest, registered nurse Veronique Worrell, and she's talking about her world as a nurse, especially when COVID hit and things like that. And so, I remember when it first hit, and there was a nurse that got on there, and she was breaking down. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that clip; it went viral. She was in New
Mm-hmm.
York, and she had the
Yeah.
mask on, and she was talking about how everybody was dying, and it was like her mindset, like she just lost it. She just could not anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
so it made me think of, you have to have some type of resiliency and the ability to overcome. And so how have you been able to formulate a mindset that helps people on the other side that are struggling with breathing, struggling with just hanging on to life, family members that are struggling with not knowing what the next moment holds? How have you been able to help them develop a winning mindset to where they can overcome anything in all of these various scenarios that you've been placed in?
Well, you know what, India, and thank you again for asking that question. And to be honest with you, it was a very emotional journey on both sides, and it took a lot of oh my goodness, long conversations that you have to stretch yourself and be involved in those conversations to bring
Yeah.
peace to that individual. We did a lot of FaceTiming, more than more than we were supposed to. We did a lot of long conversations, more than we were supposed to. We listened to a lot of tears on the other end. And as I'm
Yeah.
talking to you about it, I kind of get a little bit emotional because I remember even some of my patients, I had to go into the room and do the FaceTime, and it was very touching. And sometimes they would come to the window to see the patient because they weren't allowed in the facility. And
Mm.
a lot of patients ended up being very they felt abandoned, and it wreaked havoc on the healing process. But it's
Yeah.
all about being engaged. I think one of the things that kind of bridged that gap was being engaged with the family members, and you're kind of the beacon of hope. You're the light. When they see
Wow.
me, they say, "Okay, I there's hope. I know what's going on
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
there. I have a lifeline, and so on." So that was kind of
Yeah.
what we used, and FaceTime was amazing in accomplishing that. We got a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of family members expressing gratitude for that. So that was awesome. That was an awesome part of it.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful because I've always wondered about what nurses do. Like I'll
Yeah,
be driving around if I see a hospital or something, and I'm like, I wonder how they're really connecting
mhm,
with these patients during COVID. Um, and
yeah,
just making sure that, when you leave the hospital, that you yourself, if you haven't, taking care of someone that is, dealing with COVID, then how do you make sure that you're safe and that your family is safe? And I know that, the safety measures must be very high. There must be very high stakes there for you. So I mean, I've just, my thing is like, since this has happened, like, have you felt that, have you been able to kind of take any ease, or has it just been kind of stringent and just high pressure the entire time since March?
well, the restrictions have, I wouldn't say they've come down. I've worked in um, the two different types of demographics of people. I worked in a rehabilitation hospital where the setting was just different, and you had to be head to toe, your hair had to be covered and things of that nature. And now, as a case manager, it's kind of a different type of feeling. I'm sorry,
Right.
a different type of environment. So you're required to wear your surgical mask, and so in different setting, it's a little bit different. But
Hmm.
I took a picture of every hazmat suit that I wore. I have a picture of them,
Wow.
so
Wow.
I'll
And how
have
long does
that
it take
in
to put on one of those?
history.
Yeah, how
I'm
long does
sorry.
it take? How long does it take to really put on one of those right? Like I saw a video of a guy doing that, and his suit was like, it took like a long time for him to put it on. It was ridiculous. layers and
Yeah.
layers. I mean, not ridiculous. It was what he needed, but how long does it take for you to really put that on properly?
Well, in the setting that I worked in the rehabilitation hospital, they had a special room for us to go in. And
Okay.
so in the beginning, because we weren't used to it, it took about 20 minutes to get dressed. And
Wow.
then, of course, as time progressed, we kind of, found it a little bit easier, found easier
Yeah.
strategies. But it was, when they see us coming down the hallway, it's just
Right.
reminded you of cars or something like that. So
Right.
it was
And
it was kind of scary, but you felt protected at the same time.
yeah. How have you been able to comfort the doctors and those that you've had to work with that are, whether it's doctors or surgeons or whatnot, that you've been serving with?
Mhm. Well, that's a really good question because a lot of doctors, when they come onto the unit, they're the first thing they're going to say they rely on us so much. There's so
Yeah.
much resting on our shoulders, and
Wow.
so the first thing they ask is, "Hey, is this patient positive?" I mean, if it's a fill-in doctor, and they come straight to you and they're asking you, they're relying on you because we're on the front lines, and so I've kind of, treasured that because I
Yeah.
treasure their trust in us. And they come in and they
Right.
check in with us first to say, hey, what do I need to do? What's the protocol? So it's a
Right.
very beautiful exchange. And we kind
Yeah.
of work as a team on each other. So it's
Yeah.
amazing. It really is pretty amazing.
It's really sweet. And yeah, wow, I can imagine the pressure that they are under. I'm so grateful to God for every doctor, everyone out there that's on the front lines. And so again, thank you so much for the work that you do. And you said something, but before I get to that, Mitchie here says building up our immune system is the key. Zinc, vitamin C, lemon, pineapple, ginger, lots of water, sleep, change your diet completely. I agree with that 100%. What do you have any advice on what she's said? Um,
Absolutely. I took zinc and vitamin C until I promise you, I felt it coming out of my ears. Literally.
right.
I took a dose every single day, even now.
Yeah.
And if I missed a day, I would double up. And that's probably why I never got tested positive. But this is a very beautiful testament here from Mickey Carter, because that has been my lifeline. And I've had nurses alongside me that have tested positive, but thanks be to God, I tried to keep my immune system built up with exactly what she had
Right.
listed here.
Wow. And
It's
so,
awesome.
yeah, I love pineapple naturally. So I can go to town with some pineapple. That's like my favorite fruit. For those that know me, pineapple is everything. Like you give me a pineapple and we are going down. Like it
Right.
is over. I also like grapes. Grapes are cool,
Right.
they're my friends. But pineapple, there's nothing like a nice pineapple. But anyways, in the fresh ones. But like
Right.
anyway. And so ginger has become a friend of mine, turmeric as well. I'm trying to think, is there
Mhm.
anything that's not listed here? Turmeric,
Um,
garlic.
Vitamin D is one of the, especially for people of color. Vitamin D is a very important part of the immune system. I don't want to speak as a doctor or anything like that, but however, I've been advised by physicians that patients that have a lot of immune system disorders or various types of diseases, especially in the Black and brown communities, they are low on vitamin D. And one of the causes for that is because our melanin blocks the sun most of the time. And
Oh,
so a
wow.
lot of cancers and infections are linked to a low level of vitamin D. So
Wow.
I've been kind of feeling, taking that in a
Very
lot here lately. Yeah, very
wow, very
important.
that's very enlightening to me because I love the beach. Okay. I am the best friend with the ocean and with the sun. Okay. I will go to the beach.
Right,
I'll go there from 8 in the morning and stay till 8 at night and won't even blink an eye. Like, and I could do it all day, like all week.
right.
No, I don't have to lay out and show the world everything. But what I'm saying is I just love nature and I love being out there and
Right.
just soaking it all in. And I've always been told, being African American, we don't need sun because, we already have vitamin D and, because of our melanin. But you are exposing here a very interesting truth that we do and indeed we do need vitamin D. And so I think that's very interesting because like I'm not really taking, I mean, I take my vitamins, my multivitamins, but I've never really like majored in taking vitamin D. So I think that's very interesting, especially in the brown and black communities, that is a need in those communities because it seems like it's not a need, it's like, oh, we don't
Right.
need vitamin D, we don't need sunscreen, we don't need all this stuff,
Right.
it's like, no, you
Right.
do. So wow,
Right.
I think that, yeah,
Yes.
very
And I
interesting.
was, and I was actually, I didn't know about that. And, it's why a lot of times I love doctors that are educators. I love, not all doctors will teach, but when you find one that will teach you, that's excellent. And so as nurses, you kind of glean from that. And those are the kind of tidbits that they'll throw at you every now and again. And, which I think is one of the benefits of standing alongside, these doctors that I work with. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
Wow. That's amazing.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah, so
that's
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, it's amazing how, we don't know those little things,
Mhm.
and it's enlightening. That's one of the things that could really change a person's entire life, really.
Yeah.
It could mean the difference between just having that one more infection, that one more cancer diagnosis, believe it or not, so I think it's worth
I
research
agree.
at least and worth looking into for sure.
Yeah.
For
And I
sure.
know like I don't know, like I've just been very I've tried to just be very like health conscious and taking care of my health, not just splurging on anything. And I mean, I went through a season of, when I was working on my finishing school, um I remembered I would eat everything, and I would eat like the triple, chocolate fudge chocolate cake and, vanilla ice cream with sprinkles and caramel frappuccinos with extra drizzle. Give me the grande, like it was just like after a while, you just got to stop and think like, really? And talking about like the sugars and stuff. I had a breast cancer scare, I was healed from it. Um, but it just makes me think of how many different things we naturally splurge on, especially in our society, in the American society, and we don't realize that we're setting ourselves up for these different sicknesses. So I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe you can speak to us about, maybe some things that you've just kind of read about or have observed, or just different things that we take for granted that people just, they're digesting all kinds of things, and maybe they should consider doing, eating something else or whatnot. So
Yeah.
talk to us from the heart of a nurse, about something that
Well,
comes to your mind.
well, you know what? And again, I mean, I speak from personal experience. I was on a weight loss journey myself where I weighed 206 pounds before I had my daughter. And it took a while. Again, I wish that there were more gaps filled in our community. And there are a lot of things that we don't know about, that we haven't been exposed to. But simple things like substituting rice for something like couscous. Like, I mean, you introduced me to that. Simple things like that. It would be
I
easier.
did.
It would be easier for your body to digest that, and taking a break from meats and things like that, and just exploring. Don't be afraid to branch out and try things that you've never tried before. Don't be afraid to don't be pressured into feeling like you have to maintain a certain diet. Go ahead and branch out, because when you're laying on that hospital bed, nobody's going to be there with you. You're going to be there. You're going to have to tough it out on your own. So why not tough it out now and try
Wow,
something different that will help your
that's good.
digestive system you know, and that way, you can be around a lot longer. Another thing that I would advise, and that I've learned from my weight loss journey, is simple things you can do at home. I was self-conscious about going to the gym because I was a bigger girl. And so
Right.
I've found out, even through this COVID-19 season, listen, go to the gym, go to the store, buy a couple 5-pound weights, do upper
Yeah.
body exercises, do 2 reps of 10 at night and when you get up in the morning. If you're sore, take some ibuprofen, okay? Start that way. You can do sit-ups, but do them consistently, and you'll see a difference. But you have to start somewhere, and don't be afraid of those baby steps. Don't be afraid of waking up the next morning and you're still fat.
Right. Right. And
I'm speaking from
Stella
my
didn't get
experience.
her
I
groove
woke up
back
the next
overnight.
morning and I was still fat.
Yeah. Stella's not gonna get her groove
I woke
back
up the next
overnight,
morning
you
and I
know?
was yeah. So I
Yeah.
woke up the next morning and I was still fat, and I was like, this doesn't work. But you have to do it. You have to put a good week into it. And I'll tell
That's
you
beautiful.
that once you see the results, it's kind of addicting, because you then now have,
Yes.
isn't it? You have
Yes, it
control
is.
over your space. You finally have control over those little sags on your arm. You finally have control over the
Yeah.
little things on your arm right here, that you've never been able to
Right.
control. Finally
Mhm.
realize, oh, I can change the way that looks. And after you've done sit-ups
That's
for a while,
right.
you look at your belly and you say, oh, this entire time, all I had to do was like 10 sit-ups in the morning and night, and I changed that.
That's right. That's right.
And that's it.
And,
It's right in
you
your
know,
bedroom.
I think we missed our calling on being personal fitness trainers because once I started my workout journey and I just set a simple goal. I didn't need to look like a, a supermodel. I just needed to get my
Right,
groove back. And I
right,
set a certain weight in my mind and said it's time to go at it. It
right.
was so hard though. And I relate and I have compassion for those that are struggling with that. It's like a mindset of they feel stuck. Like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. I took a couple days off of my workout recently because of Thanksgiving. I'm guilty. I had some collard
Absolutely.
greens and mac and cheese, and I had some sweet potato pie. I was just living it up, and I
Right.
maybe gained a couple pounds. Hey, I still got my groove though. Okay, but I'm saying this because I try to go back and work out. OMG, that first day was like I never even worked out ever in my life. It was like, what is going on? I
Yes.
couldn't get 10 minutes in. And so I want to, maybe you could speak on this because what if they're making progress and then they hit a rut or they just can't seem to muster up the strength to desire to want to work out? What advice do you have for
Well,
them?
well, first of all, a real struggle in anybody that's trying to lose weight, and I appreciate you asking that. In my own personal weight loss journey, when I was at 206 pounds, I rolled into the gym, not lying, I rolled right in there, and I was struggling, and I could barely get on the elliptical and whatever machine I went on. And you have to give it time. Think about when you first learned math, right? You
Right.
go in and you just don't know what you're doing, right? You had to go to
Right.
the teacher and say, listen, I'm lost, I don't know what I'm
Mhm.
doing. But after that first semester, something clicked, right? Well, it's
Right.
the same thing with a workout. You have to give it time. Your body is trying to figure out what in the world is she doing, but you have to stay
Right.
at it. You're going to fall off the wagon, just like we did on Thanksgiving, but don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up on
Yes.
yourself. Don't give up on yourself. I don't care what happens. If you burnt 10 calories and you went ahead and ate another 10 calories, still go to the gym. Because
Right.
one day you're going to get to the point where you're you're gonna build up so much of that stamina
Right.
against what's working against you, that you're gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna eat that piece of cake. I've worked too hard to get it
Yeah.
off. So
Yeah.
eventually you will face yourself, and you'll realize, listen, it's not worth it. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. So, don't give up, and just, think of the many benefits that you'll give to your body. But you have to actually give it time. That's the hardest part, because you don't see the progress. But you got to stay
Right.
the course, just like in anything else. You got to give it time, at
That's
least a week.
beautiful. Now,
And
did you have any no, go ahead and then I'll ask my question.
well, I was going to also say, you know, try things like switching out some types of protein, take in more fruits and vegetables, do it slowly. Um, Breakfast, try it throughout the day. And if you mess up the next day, it's okay. Just start over. But don't give up. And you're give it time, and you'll eventually learn how to ride that bike, so to
Right.
speak.
That's beautiful. And did you have any accountability partners that helped you? Like I've had some phenomenal friends that have helped me just by doing their own thing. It's encouraged me to see what they're doing. Because before then I just like I had a treadmill in the corner and just stared at it. And so, like I had accountability, I had friends, and then I just kind of had just I don't know, just it just really just clicked for me. And so, did you have that while you were losing your weight and making those strides in your weight loss journey?
Well, it's funny you say that. I actually, my husband was very supportive at the time. But now, during in the earlier parts of my weight loss journey, but now, as a matter of fact, during the COVID season, before COVID hit, I was going to the gym on a regular basis, and I didn't know that I wasn't getting effective results, to be honest. And something really, really resonated with me during COVID season, because I said, okay, well, I don't want to expose myself. So what can I do? So I went and bought the weights, and I decided to do my exercises from my bedroom. And to be honest with you, those were the most effective results that I had. Um, I didn't really have an accountability partner, especially because it was COVID. We were trying to maintain social distancing, which was very hard. But to be honest with you, India, Dr. White, this was a phenomenal way for me to lose weight. And I actually lost more lifting the weights, doing my sit-ups in my bedroom than I did when I was at the gym. So I was pleasantly surprised. I always said, you're not gonna lose your stomach doing sit-ups. I don't believe it. I never believed it,
Yeah.
and I'm not a fitness trainer. But when I
Yeah.
saw, doing, no kidding, I did 40 sit-ups the night, and
Wow.
40 in the morning. And when I
Woo.
got up the next day, my belly, I had lost inches. No kidding.
Wow. Wow.
No kidding.
See, now were you a lover of the H2O as well? Did you have a lot of water drinking that you were doing as well that helped slim it down?
Actually, no, not that I would have loved to, not as much as I would have loved to. I can't say that I was a lover of the water. Um, I know that it's an important part. It's a very core part of your workout and things like that. But no, I really didn't. Now, would I advise people to do that? Absolutely, especially if you're out walking, or if you're exerting a lot of energy outside. But I more drank teas and herbs than anything. That's more kind of where
Oh,
I stuck. Yeah,
oh, interesting. See, I
yeah,
never even factored that in. I've just been on a water journey and like
yeah.
I got to the place I was eating so much chips and salsa and carrots and drinking water that if I saw another tub of Tostitos salsa or Tostitos and salsa, I was gonna throw the salsa down on the floor or something. Like I was like sick of eating salsa and guacamole and there's only so much of that you could eat.
Right.
Pineapples are always my best friend. And smoothies, right? Making smoothies. Another one that we take for granted that actually is an advocate with fighting against cancers is kale. I love kale, and I think that is something that we should all, embrace more of. And if you don't like eating it right out in a salad or whatever, then just put it in a blender, put it as a part of a
Mhm.
smoothie, and make it happen. I mean, you don't
Yes.
taste kale really in a smoothie. So,
Yes.
wow,
Yes.
that is phenomenal. Well, you
And
look amazing, girlfriend.
thank you.
And so I just would have never guessed, I mean, and so you're an overcomer, and I know you had mentioned your husband and stuff, and I wanted to go back to just your role of being a nurse, and you mentioned being a beacon of hope, and how it came to my mind like that has to be a ministry. How have you been able to I guess use your faith to kind of help you, and how has that played a role in your journey as a nurse?
Well, that's a beautiful question. And as a Christian, we strive to kind of, let God shine through whatever we do. But in my profession, we have roles that each person plays. We have a social worker, we have a chaplain that comes to pray for patients and things like that. But there are many times when I'm at the bedside and I'm like, can I pray with you? And I've prayed with many people at the bedside there, trying not to infringe. Of course, you can't infringe on their own personal religious preferences, but that has been kind of a ministry right there for me. And if they say, hey, let's pray, I'm in there and we're praying, and
Wow.
it's a comfort because your chaplain's not always going to be there. So
Right.
that's one of the rewards that I've really enjoyed in being a nurse, at the bedside
Yeah.
with the sick patients, things like that.
Now, did you kind of discover your faith as a nurse, or was this before your nursing? Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, your journey with all of that as well. Uh,
Well,
Tapping into your faith. Yeah.
I was ushered into the Christian lifestyle when I was about 9 years old. We were still living in Jamaica at the time, and so we kind of embraced it in our adulthood. So when I got into nursing, it was just one of those pieces that I kind of just blended in with everything else about my career. So I was really glad to extend that part of myself to my patients, the ones that really wanted it, of course. And that was kind of I created a bond with a lot of my patients through that, through my
Right.
Christianity, and having that in common. So it bridged a lot of gaps when patients feel hopeless. They're
Yeah.
going to take their last breath, and you hold their hand and you pray with them. That means the
Wow.
world. That means the
Wow.
world.
That's
When
so
you're the last
powerful.
person they see here on planet Earth,
Oh,
it means the world.
oh my goodness. See, that's
Um,
another reason why I don't think I could have done nursing. I'd be crying like every day. That
oh yeah,
moves me, like that's very moving. I mean, to know that I'm the last person and I could give you fuel of hope as you enter into eternity, like whatever that is, we don't know. Like, wow,
yeah.
that's pretty powerful. Wow, my heart goes out to you and what you've done into all of the nurses out there. Um, and so, what advice do you have for those that are nurses and they're faced with that situation? You're holding that person's hand and they're out of here. So, what advice do you have for those nurses that they might not know what to say, or they might not know how to love that person or show compassion and to be a superb, excellent nurse that they can know at the end of the day they truly served that person with their whole heart? What advice do you have for your fellow nurses out there that are going through that?
Well, I would say, first of all, that's a very tough place to be in. So you need to know that. It's a tough place for anyone to be in,
Yeah.
whether you're a Christian or not. And I would always say, make sure you have your chaplain and your social worker on hand. Don't try to do it all by yourself because nursing in itself, the disciplines are, we call it an interdisciplinary team. And we have to separate those roles sometimes. Yes, there are times when you have to step in at last minute, which is okay, but you can't carry those burdens by yourself. So I would say, if you feel any uncertainty at all, grab your social worker, grab your chaplain. There's always one available. Don't ever feel like you're in it alone. Don't ever feel pressured into doing something that you're not comfortable with. Obviously, your patient is your first priority, but grab your support system because you already have a lot on your shoulders. You're shouldering everything else about this patient, and you don't want to, sometimes you
Yeah.
don't want to kind of break down. So yes, grab your support systems or grab another nurse and say, hey, can you come in? And nurses love to step in those kinds of roles. So my biggest
Mhm.
advice would be, don't feel like you have to do it all, you know.
Wow. Right. And I know I think it seems like it's healthy that, you are established. You're in Vero Beach, so you're established with a church family, right? So they can
Yes.
kind of support you as well. Where's your church family? What's the name of your church?
The name of my church is Eastwind Pentecostal Church, actually.
Okay. Yeah, they
And
had that
we're
conference. Yeah.
yeah, we're stationed in Palm Bay, Florida.
Okay.
Pastor David Myers, love the church. Amazing, amazing church. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Phenomenal leadership. Absolutely
Yeah.
phenomenal. And they're very community based, very supportive, multicultural. It's just one of the most beautiful settings I've been in as far as a church goes.
Hmm.
And yeah, I draw a lot from them because they tend to touch on all surfaces to, make you feel like you belong. What you're
Yeah.
doing matters. So
Right.
love that about them.
I like how like people like you go and you give all that you have, and then you can come to a place like that, and then they pour into you so that you can then go back out and continue to give all that you have, and it's like a sense of covering and like a support
Yes.
that helps you as you're on the front lines helping others. So kudos to them. And so with that said, do you have any? Oh wait, we have one. I wanted to mention regarding how you are on the front lines. And you were talking about COVID earlier. We had a question come through. Another question. It says, does every single person that comes into the hospital, are they truly a COVID-19 patient, or are they just having a common cold, joint aches, which are symptoms to COVID-19, but you treat them as COVID? This is a very interesting question. How would you
Mhm.
answer this person with what you know?
Answer that person? Well, okay, so that's a very good question because a lot of illnesses in nursing, they have similarities. So for example, the common cold has a lot of similarities with the COVID-19. However, there are tests that we use to determine what virus we're attacking. So that's
That's great.
one way we determine what we're treating. They go in and, the first thing they say, okay, you have cold symptoms. Okay, well then let's do a test. And if it comes up positive for the flu or just a common cold, then we treat that. But then if it comes up positive for COVID-19, then we take a different route. So that's a very good question. But yeah, a lot of diseases mimic each other. The way we distinguish which one is which is through testing, diagnostic testing. It's a
Okay.
very good question.
Well, thank you for adding and answering that question for us, because I always wondered that, because I know people were like, oh, everybody that goes into the hospital, they're tested positive for COVID no matter what. And so it's
Yeah.
great to hear that you are on the front lines and you're able to actually speak and say, no, there's actually diagnostic that we go through, and so we can properly assess people and what it is that they're dealing with. So with that said, Veronique, it has been wonderful having you on the show. And I'm sure someone might want to keep in touch and they might want to reach you. Do you have any information where we can, reach out to you if we have any advice that we might need for nursing, or if they might need you for any other area of interest?
Absolutely. I have an email address, and it's a really long one because it's my first and last name at
Okay.
gmail.com.
Okay.
Um, but
Let me write it.
but I would, yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely.
I'm getting it.
Hmm.
And are you on for social media? Apologies. For social media, is it going to be um your name again, or is it something
Yes,
else?
yes, my first and last name.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we can reach you. I'm gonna show your email in a little bit. There you go. Okay. So
There
you
we
guys can
go.
reach Veronique at veroniqueworld@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And then also on social media. So you're on Facebook. Where else? Facebook,
Um,
is it
I am on
Instagram, Twitter?
Instagram, but you know
Okay.
what? I'm just not. I haven't really populated that platform yet. I'm
Okay.
mostly
That's fine.
Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So you guys can reach Veronique if you have any questions about nursing, or you would like to just kind of tune in and see what else she's got going on. She's an amazing leader, amazing nurse. Definitely has proven herself as a nurse, has given some great advice as to how we can take care of ourselves. And again, thank you so much, Veronique, for sharing your testimony about weight loss and how you were able to achieve such a great accomplishment. I'm very proud of you for getting your
Thank
groove
you.
back. And so with that said, thank you so
What a
much again for joining the
pleasure.
Real Talk Show.
What
Yes.
a
And
pleasure,
thank you
Dr.
all,
White.
guys. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for inviting me. This was a
Yes,
pleasure. Enjoyed it
yes.
thoroughly.
Same here. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Real Talk Show. Again, I'm your host, Dr. India White. Have a phenomenal night. Take care of yourselves, and I will speak with you guys later. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.